because this might be the inner chronicle of what we are, and we have to articulate ourselves, otherwise we would be cows in a field.
Welcome to Cows in the Field. This is a show in which we discuss philosophical themes in popular films. My name is Justin.
I'm Laura.
And today we are going to open up our Tor browser to surf the dark web because it's time to talk Red Rooms. And returning to the show, we are delighted to welcome Emily St. James. Emily is a writer on the hit show Yellow Jackets and the author of the new book, Woodworking. Welcome back to the field, Emily.
I am really glad to be here and glad to be talking one of my favorite films of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's a comfort watch for me.
We need to get into that.
Okay.
I saw you wrote that on Letterboxd.
Put a pin in that, Emily.
I saw you wrote that on Letterboxd, and I am going to ask you about that. But really, I do think we have to start here because this is I think the big thing, the big question of the day, which is, what do you think of the new Taylor Swift album?
I find it a little anonymous in a weird way. Like
Really?
I like it. I think it's probably better than Tortured Poets Department. But Tortured Poets Department, the problem is that it's like a good 10-song album crammed into a 32-song album.
Yeah.
So it really I don't know. I think I'm maybe, as much as I've loved her in the past, I'm either drifting a bit away from whatever she's doing, or I just need her to go away for a while.
Yeah.
Or she needs me to go away for a while. Let's be honest.
I'm enjoying it. I think like my relationship has been like with Taylor has been a little bit less like close than yours was. And so I'm sort of just continuing on of a deep appreciation for her. But I just think that I'm glad she's happy. And when I saw Father Figure was on that album, I cackled. I really enjoyed that one.
I was hoping it would be a straight cover. It is not.
It is
but
not.
I was hoping it would just
I was too. But I also like her version. But yes, a straight cover would be really, really fun.
I was hoping it would be more like a Weird Al cover.
I was also just like, what a year for Father Figure.
Mm-hmm.
Between that
I'll be your father figure.
Between that and Baby Girl, like we all just.
That was your favorite scene of the year last year, right, Laura?
I didn't list it, but it was definitely in the top.
Yeah, that was good.
For me.
Needle drop for you. All right, Emily, we got to talk about Red Rooms. We got to get into this now. So
I think Taylor Swift has like a Kellyanne side life. I think that she probably. There's famously a conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift had an account on, it's not an account, but you know what I mean? She had like a persona on 4chan.
Wow.
And like there was this person who would like post things that seemed to know a lot from her inner circle. It has been debunked, but I still believe, deep down, I still believe that Taylor Swift is Kellyanne and she's like
that's her burner
doing
account.
Bitcoin shit.
Yeah.
She's Machiavellian because she cares. Like she told us that she's a mastermind. So we don't like she's working things behind the scenes that we don't know.
Yeah.
And she's probably bringing some people to justice in between tours.
Yeah, well,
no,
yeah, in between tours and betting the Kelsey family, and I guess because one of the songs was like, I want to have like a bunch of babies and live.
She
in
wants
suburbs.
The neighborhood to look like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I listened to that one. Laura's was like, you should listen to the album, so I was listening to it in the car. It was nice. Okay, Kellyanne, very good character. But you got to start with you, Emily. So you wrote, as we mentioned, on Letterboxd that this is a comfort watch. And I don't think that's entirely crazy or off base. I think it actually could make a lot of sense. But I want to hear it from you. How do you explain that?
Explain yourself.
That relationship to this film, which is a disturbing
My
movie.
number one comfort film of all time is Zodiac.
Okay.
I can throw that on at any time and just like something about it's like kind of ultra bleak, like, but also not entirely devoid of humanity, like vision of the world, like just really hits me the right way. I have a similar relationship to the Matt Reeves Batman, which I think is like not as good as other Batman movies, but like gives me like a thing that I can't get anywhere else. What I want is like kind of oppressively glum, but not like grim. So like there is like little rays of light peeking through. And I think this movie has that.
Yeah.
It like is an oppressive, like really dark look at someone kind of like spiraling because of, you know, an obsession with a crime or with the internet or whatever you want to say she's obsessed with. But it's also kind of a buddy cop movie. Like down at its heart. So like it and like it is a movie where the first time you watch it, you're like, you feel like you're going to be like swallowed by a ghost. And every time after that, you know where it's going because it ends in, I don't want to say it ends in a hopeful place, but it ends in a place where you like can believe that there's a capacity for justice and change in a way that the rest of the film doesn't really seem like it's going to support. And it gets there organically. It's not out of nowhere. But so like once you know where it's going, that makes the earlier stuff easier to stomach. I think I listened to a lot of true crime when I was doing Arden, a podcast I used to do, and I kind of hate it, but there is something about that true crime vibe that like in a fictional context.
I find true crime comforting too. Like I often and like whenever I'm like in a low place, I'm like, let's break out the true crime, the murder mysteries. So it makes a lot of sense to me. The Red Rooms would be a comfort watch for you.
And you know, you mentioned Zodiac, and what was the other one you mentioned, Emily?
The Batman.
Batman. Yes,
Batman.
right. Well, so both of those are these movies, like they're like procedural movies where there are people trying to solve a crime. There's, you know, they're going through the steps of solving a crime, and there is hope that you might solve it during the movie. Of course, you know, in the case of Zodiac, it doesn't come together, but.
So yeah, and Zodiac also like gives you a closure because the main character attains closure and is like, I've just decided it's this guy who we know it's not, but within the film you're like, I guess, sure, it's this guy. It's Arthur Lee Allen. So you're just like, you're rolling with it. That's one I rewatch probably once a year. I get like Midsommar is another one that gives me like comfort. I like things that are like dark but not pessimistic, I guess would be the way to put it.
Okay, that's interesting. So let me just give a quick synopsis of this film. So this film, Red Rooms, follows a young, seemingly, I would say, well-educated, she's a part-time model. Her name is Kellyanne. She attends the trial of Ludovic Chevalier, who's accused of killing 3 young women and then selling the videos of their killings on the dark web. We meet another woman in the process attending the trial, Clementine, who's a devoted Chevalier groupie. She believes he's innocent. But as we go on, Kellyanne's motivations and her actions become increasingly obscure until perhaps the very end of the film. You know, we've seen this movie now a couple times, and the first time, I thought it was a brilliant idea to make the movie not about who did it or why they did it, but about what is this person who's, you know, engaged with that action in some ways, you know, watching the trial, what are they doing? Because her actions throughout the movie are, you know, inexplicable the first time you watch it. I mean, she's a very intriguing character. This is a film that has mostly female protagonists, and I'm going to mention 2 other sort of background female characters that are going to be relevant to our discussion. One is the Lady Shalott, which is Kellyanne's screen name, and that's taken from a Tennyson poem, which we'll talk about later. And the other is, of course, we have Clementine. There's the mother, and then the other is, and this I'm just gonna mention this straight up because I think it is kind of interesting that, again, how female dominated this film is. The other is the character who she buys, the person she buys the third video from is named Ching Shi. I looked that person up. Of course, it's not the real person, but they have as their name Ching Shi. That's the name of a famous 19th century Chinese woman pirate. So again, like badass women, it's just all around there. So let's talk.
Like just fucking up society and like getting shit done.
Just getting in the mix in their own way. But okay, so
also in that auction scene, one of the people in the chat room is just named Emily. That's just the screen name. That's me.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're in there trying to buy the video too. Okay, so let's talk about Kellyanne though. I mean, again, I think it's just like a bunch of women characters in a movie about a man who killed a bunch of young women. Very interesting to center the women characters and basically background the man. But let's just talk about Kellyanne. She's a difficult character to understand, at least on the first watch. What is she doing? Like, why is she doing what she's doing? What's your read on her character, Emily?
It's interesting. This is a comment that I hear a lot about this movie is like the first time you watch it, you don't understand her, basically. She's intentionally opaque.
Yeah.
And I agree that is the thing the film is doing. And yet the first time I watched this, I felt like I understood her intuitively.
Amazing.
Like there's just a thing about her that I locked into. And maybe it's that I'm also hot, smart, and a little crazy. But are
you really good at online poker as well? I don't know that about
I'm
you.
Actually, I'm like an online vigilante.
Wow.
I have a lot of stuff.
You got a lot
talking
going
to you,
on.
but yeah, on my other monitor, I'm dealing with stuff right now. So, no, I think like there's a lot of different reads you can have. My friend Tasha Robinson, we used to work together. Now she's of the Next Picture Show podcast. She said like in a novel, there are like 5 different kinds of interiority you could give to Kellyanne that would make total sense of her and why she's doing what she's doing. But like watching this, as someone who's survived really traumatic sexual abuse, I watched this and was like, oh, she's a sexual abuse survivor. She's like pulling forward this thing and she's obsessed with it and she kind of can't get out of its whirlpool maw. Like she's getting sucked in toward it, but also like she wants to break it. So it is kind of like I like to think a lot about how deep I could get into Scientology and still get out. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like when you are confronted with a situation that like reminds you of your trauma, there's a magnetism to it that you kind of can't get away from, but you ultimately like deep down what you want to do is like fix your own self by like fixing this thing.
Yeah.
For some of us, so some of us just get sucked down into it. And it does seem like to me, Kellyanne like really goes on that journey in a way that she can't even articulate to herself, which I think like makes the movie that much more interesting and strong. And it helps that like the actress is fantastic and just like compelling to watch her just like jazzercise.
Yeah.
And it's but yeah, there's a thing. I think this movie would not, it's obvious this movie would not work without Clementine, but also this movie would not work if Clementine didn't leave like with like a third of the movie left.
Yes. Sure.
Like it is a movie that like needs to bring out just enough of Kellyanne that you're like, okay, this is not a psychopath, but then like needs to leave just enough obscured that you're like always a little unsure why she's doing what she's doing. But my read is that she's an abuse survivor who is like really drawn to this sort of thing in the way that a lot of abuse survivors are, whether they're drawn to like dark true crime or they're drawn to like fiction that depicts rape or other forms of sexual assault, like a method of excising it without directly experiencing it again. And like Kellyanne seeing how close she can fly to the sun.
That's interesting.
Is basically my read on her.
So that's interesting. So here's one question that I think a lot of people have, and I come down differently on this from I think some of the people I was reading online. But is her behavior self-destructive? That is it ultimately something that she's doing out of a compulsion that is harming her, or is it something that she is doing with purpose and she has a goal and she's just, I need to achieve this goal? So the things that she does is she attends the trial of Chevalier. She gets sort of in trouble because she's a part-time model, but the modeling agency doesn't want to employ her because she's been seen at the trial and they don't want her being associated with these Chevalier groupies like Clementine. But then she starts to do more and more radical things. She dresses up as Camille in the courtroom, and dead stare right at Chevalier, trying to provoke some kind of reaction, seemingly. And then she wins the bid on the Camille video. She watches it, she puts it on a hard drive, and breaks into the house of Camille's mother and leaves it for her.
And takes a selfie of herself.
Before that,
Yeah.
before leaving it, dressed up as Camille, takes a selfie in Camille's bedroom and then leaves. Okay, so those are like just like what happens, but then there's this question of like, she ends the film basically having lost her modeling job completely, and she started the film. Another enigmatic feature of this character is throughout the film she lives in a basically furnished apartment, that nondescript apartment building high up in this tower. She doesn't seem to eat normal food. She eats only smoothies. She doesn't have she doesn't have plates or silverware. When Clementine comes over, they have to eat on the floor on the box of the pizza. She is living this, and she has this AI that she's programmed, Guinevere, that she speaks to. She doesn't seem to have any friends. She doesn't seem to have any family. She's incredibly isolated. Okay, these are all just like just objective features of the character. And now, like within that, like what do we want to make of all of this?
I just want her to be my friend. Like,
okay.
I love the Clementine, the like the middle third, the Clementine, Kellyanne budding friendship, and how strange it is, and how hard Kellyanne is working to be like, what do you humans do? What do we say? How do I do this? Like, do I buy you a racket? Is that what we do?
Yeah, and a cool
the
outfit.
The scene where they play squash and Clementine clearly is not having a good time.
Yeah.
But like Kellyanne is like, just you're gonna do great. And then like gets kind of into it. And like, it is as though like kind of, I think there's a read of this movie I don't agree with, but I think is really compelling, which is that Kellyanne is a personification of the internet. Basically, like, oh, it becomes obsessed with random things. It like goes down these rabbit holes. It kind of like is uninterested, has like very extreme tunnel vision. And then like, when there's like when it encounters a person, it kind of can only relate to them in like a handful of ways. And like, I don't entirely agree with that read. It's someone who basically was trying to argue that Kellyanne's not a Mary Sue, which I think is a very like weird complaint to deliver toward this movie in general. Like, this is not a movie that is particularly interested in having like, yeah, Kellyanne's hyper competent, but like she's broken in like 15 different ways. But I am interested in that, especially in how it relates to the Clementine relationship, because it's so much, oh, this weird girl now has an even weirder person. But like, I mean, we've all like really just wanted to like win the favor of an extremely strange hot girl. Like we've all been there. It's just how it is.
Let me just add another wrinkle to this, which is that Kellyanne, as I mentioned, she's programmed her own AI named Guinevere. She has as the desktop background picture a painting of Lady Shalott. The painting is by
whoa.
I'll just say it. Thank
you.
John Atkinson Grimshaw. What is the Lady of Shalott? Okay, so it's this Tennyson poem that basically what it does is it tells the story in the Arthurian times of a lady, the Lady Shalott. She lives in a big tower. She can't see the world except through a mirror. She desires to sort of see Camelot. She leaves the tower to glimpse Camelot, and in the process dies. She dies sort of on this boat. So the image that you're seeing on the desktop is the dead Lady Shalott as she like her corpse sort of floats up to Camelot. And the end of the poem is I think really interesting. So the end of the poem reads basically like she shows up, and everyone at Camelot, like they cross themselves. They're like, oh no, like this poor lady, she's dead. And then there's this parchment. It's described as a parchment on her breast. She wrote them a note. She said, the web was woven curiously. The charm is broken utterly. Draw near and fear not. This is I, the Lady of Shalott. That's the end of the poem. And okay, so like, what the fuck is going on here? So the interpret. So here's some interpretations of the poem that like some people have put forward that I think it's all relevant to how we interpret Kellyanne, because this is part, again, part of the text. But like, some people think of it as like Victorian era social norms. The woman is like, it has to be hidden away. But maybe there's a sort of feminist read that she can escape the patriarchal tower and like, come down to the world and, and experience it. But of course, in doing so, she dies. But here's a question. Kellyanne, her screen name is the Lady Shalott. So she clearly thinks, and she has it as her desktop background, she clearly thinks of herself as the Lady Shalott. I should mention one other thing. In seeing Camelot, what kills her is also getting basically coming face to face in a way with Lancelot, because it's like his beauty or something.
He's so hot.
Yeah, like she sees him,
kills everybody,
and it sort of like kills her or whatever.
Yeah, he's too hot.
So there is this sort of like, okay, what's going on there? Is it like she's being corrupted? Her like Victorian lady sensibilities are being corrupted by like sexual desire or something. Okay, whatever we want to think about that. These are like the facts of the poem. All right, Emily, does that cue you to think anything about Kellyanne?
It's always interesting when a movie is like, this character, see this character through this lens of this character from literature or whatever, but the character themselves has dubbed themselves that.
Yeah.
So it is like, so what we're like, as an interpretive lens, the Lady of Shalott is like not strictly Kellyanne. It's an interpretive lens through which we can understand how Kellyanne sees herself.
Yes.
And like in that version, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, she sees herself as like seeing the world through a mirror, unable to like escape. And like, there's this place she longs to go. And like, it is, there is, however, like probably the most memorable shot in the movie is when the killer looks at her. You're like waiting the whole movie for that to happen. And like, that is not the moment when she dies. It's the moment when she like begins to take action. It's as though she was waiting for him to look at her to confirm in her head, no, this guy needs to go down. Even though she already knows he's guilty or deeply suspects it, like in that moment she's like, okay, I gotta handle this, and like she goes and does the things that end the film. But like, it is I'm writing a book about a character named Beth March, and she named herself that. Like so like people are saying, well, it's like a, just based on the marketing copy, people assume it's a Little Women retelling, and it's not. It is a book in the world where Little Women takes place. Little Women exists, and people have read it and are aware of it. And this woman is like, my name is Beth March, and like that. So like that. But when I'm doing that, it's very different from, for example, what we did in Arden, where Shakespeare doesn't exist, but there are characters named things like Julie Capsum and Ralph Montgomery, who are clearly Romeo and Juliet, but like are also not aware that that's who they are. So like there is a different lens of like, is the filmmaker prompting me to think about Kellyanne directly, or is he prompting me to think about how Kellyanne thinks about herself, which is like another layer of remove. But yeah, I think it's easy for me to approach her seeing herself as the Lady of Shalott, and it's much harder for me to be like, oh, she is the Lady of Shalott.
I like that a lot.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I totally like that a lot. So here's my read on some of this. So I think that Kellyanne's interpretation of the poem as this: the corruption that she experiences, that is the Lady of Shalott, is the experience of true depravity and evil in the world. And the experience of that, in a way, kills you, because it destroys your innocence. It destroys, now you're no longer able to sort of see the world, see other people as like fundamentally good. You just see it. You're like, well, there are people like Chevalier out there. There are people like whoever abused me out there. Not only that, there are people who are watching this live and then paying people to watch this stuff live. Like it's like a sick, depraved world. Okay, so you see that straightforwardly. Now, the rest of us are like the lady, but hey, we haven't seen it, right? We haven't had that experience with the horror. We are the ones that need to be protected in the tower. She has seen it. But of course, what happens to the lady after she sees it? She dies. And I think it's really interesting that the shot immediately after, so that just to set the scene here, eventually towards the end of the film, Kellyanne finds she's able to bid successfully on the Camille video. This is the final video of the 3 girls who were killed. It still sort of hasn't been released. She gets access and manages to win it in a Bitcoin bidding war. She then watches the video. The next shot we see after she watches the video is she's passed out because she's drunk on the chair, and she's draped across the chair like this with her arm. And in the background of the shot, you see the twin monitors with the desktop background, and you see the painting of the Lady of Shalott in the boat in the exact same pose as she is, literally the exact same pose. It's
Not exact.
no, it's basically like
It's close.
she's like
Close.
leaned backwards
Yeah.
she's like in a repose
In
as if
repose,
she's dead.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's interesting that it's like seeing the video is what in a way kills you. It destroys your innocence. And if you think of it like that, she's already seen the other videos.
She's
So
already experienced what she's experienced, perhaps, if she is in fact a survivor.
exactly.
As well.
She's a survivor, if maybe as well. She at the beginning of the film, in that sense, is already dead. And if you think of it that way, then it's kind of interesting because she is very ghost-like throughout the film. At one point, she goes, when she's sneaking out to deliver the video, she hacks into the surveillance system in the basement of her apartment, and she's able to just walk right past it, invisible, effectively. And she's able to like pass through walls when she enters into the mom's house to deliver the thing. So she is like this sort of spirit almost. Kind of, I think, like an avenging spirit in some sense. And so that's one way I think I'm trying to tie her behavior in the film to this sort of strange Tennyson poem. It's not like a direct read because it's not how the poem is typically interpreted, but it kind of felt like that was what Pascal Plante was getting at, to me at least.
Well, and like also, if you buy that this is a movie where Kellyanne is the internet, however you want to think about that, then like the internet is kind of a vengeful ghost in all of our lives.
I guess
Like,
that's right. Yeah.
there's a great like Blue Sky post where someone is like, if you discover computer when you're too old, it makes you insane. If you discover it when you're too young, it makes you insane. The right age to discover computer is 13. And like basically it's a post about like how for as much shit as the millennial generation got about like our reliance on tech, we seem to have the healthiest relationship to it, which is fucked because we all have a totally like terrible relationship.
Yeah.
Like the Bo Burnham routine I just sort of referenced is he's like, millennials had that moment when they understood what it was like to grow up with the internet, to have the internet enter your life and then like have it like grow up alongside it. And Gen Z has always grown up on the internet. And like that, the difference between those two things, you know, regardless of politics, regardless of anything else, like I do not know someone in their 20s or younger who has like a basically chill relationship with technology. You know, people I have wonderful relationships with in every other way who like inspire me all the time will just like I will either find out that they are like total Luddites and have like shut this out of their lives or like have a crippling addiction to some like random element of it. That does not really seem that way to me as someone in her early 40s. And it's like a very it's a very interesting like lens of, I think in some ways you could see it as a difference between Kellyanne and Clementine, or you could like read it as just, Kellyanne is just like this being of the internet who, you know, I love watching like videos about like, here's a creepy Reddit post. What does it mean? And Kellyanne's like the kind of person who leaves a creepy Reddit post and then like wanders off, you know?
I like this a lot because I think the other thing is, so if we're trying to interpret what she is doing, what's her aim? A very simple read is she aims to get Chevalier indicted, basically, or get him, you know, guilty. But I think it's more. I actually think it's closer. I think the whole point of this film, spending a lot of time with her in front of a screen on the internet, looking at images of people and even engaging in hacking and things like that, is I was thinking that her aim is to ultimately provide some degree of control to Camille's parents over Camille's last images. That is, so when we die, our images are on the internet. And they're out of our, actually, when we're alive, we put our images on the internet and they're out of our control.
Ghost. Facebook is like, do you remember this from 15 years ago?
They're out of our control. It's online. It's out there. And she does not want this is what I think. She does not want this video to be out there, in the sense that it would be then out of the control of Camille's parents in particular. Of course, it's out of control of Camille because she's dead. But and again, it's the idea of like these images being on the internet, having some, we've like ceded that power to other people in a sense, to tell a narrative about us, to remember us in a certain way, to think of us as whatever, in the case of Camille, the last moment, to delight in the case of some, very ill individuals, her suffering. And so I was thinking, she gets the video and she delivers it ultimately to the parents. I think without any, my read is without any sort of view about what they should do with it. It's just like, it's yours. It's yours to do with what you want. They ultimately, I think, I read it as they choose to give it to the police or whatever. But that's their choice. And she is sort of out of her hands when she drops off that USB drive. And so again, I think she is a character who basically lives her entire life online. She has no friends and so on. So she sort of understands the power of images. In fact, actually, when she's hacking, she's just basically using people's images against them, right? That's how she's able to like find out where people live and what kind of Ring doorbell they use, Camille's parents, that is, and then able to like figure out how to crack into it and so on. So she sort of knows that we're at the mercy of the images that we have left behind, and I think she doesn't want that to continue to sort of haunt Camille's or taint Camille, the image of Camille.
It's interesting you say that, because in the scene where she's winning this auction, and I just like looked up the Bitcoin exchange rate. I don't know what it was in 2022 when this film is set, but right now 21 Bitcoin, which is what she spends. Actually 21 and a half Bitcoin. So it's like $2.5 million.
Holy shit.
Like,
yeah.
She's like spending a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
But one thing I think early in that scene, the director is using the chat to sort of build suspense. So he keeps checking in on it. But early in the scene, someone is like, I'm not going to bid anymore. I'll just wait for the leak.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's taking that leak away from that part.
Exactly.
Like, this is, unless Camille's mom leaks it, but then that's like her choice.
Exactly.
I don't think she would do that though.
I doubt it. Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
But the assumption is like, this will be for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, this person's just paying $2.5 million to see it first, but we're all going to get to see it if we want to find it on the corner of the internet.
I was thinking about like the Charlie Kirk assassination. So this is a video that like a lot of people saw because it was just it was being live streamed at that moment. And is this sort of sick like fascination with this kind of thing, but yet it is like horrible. It is horrible. This is this person, of course, whatever, Charlie Kirk, he's still a human being.
Of a life.
Fuck that guy, but he's still a human being and all that. But like, it's to see that is kind of, and to like, I don't know, it's really like horrific, and like I think this is the world we live in now, it's like where like this stuff, there's just images everywhere, including of people in like their worst moments. And I don't know, I think like the film is, I think, is engaged with that question of like, how do we understand this new technology, which has effectively made us all celebrities in some sense, and how do we come to terms with that? And if read that way, it's like, I think it's really interesting that she, if she is a survivor of abuse, it's like she cannot protect Camille, but she in some sense can protect Camille's memory. And I think she's like, that's what I want to fight for.
It's also interesting that she like the last action she takes before delivering this tape is she poses as Camille
Yes.
in her bedroom. And like most abuse assault is happening by people you trust and care about. It is not because you got kidnapped and dragged into like an underground room.
A red room. Yeah.
Though that does happen. It's just like it's very rare. So like if you are taking this to its natural extent, like this is a Kellyanne, we don't see Kellyanne talk to anyone in her life who's not her agent, you know, or like somebody who's like giving her a job.
Yeah.
It's just Clementine who she meets in the course of this film. Like it's not like Clementine's a pre-existing friend. And like it does seem to me like she is imagining herself into a place where she like has a loving family and also like is in some weird way giving these people Camille back.
Yeah.
And like it is this kind of fucked up role play that has like a sweet core, even though it's deeply messed up.
Right. Yeah. No, it's of course she can't give them back. And that's like the horrible thing but maybe she wants to be Camille. I mean, maybe that's part of it. Is like she's like, for whatever reason, she does not have any contact with her family, at least throughout the film. Maybe that's what she desires.
Camille has like a mother that is sitting there day after day, like in the courtroom, like fighting for her. Yeah. I mean, I think Kellyanne's really interested in images and perception and role play. I mean, her job is as a model, but like I think she's very cognizant of the fact that like she's embodying different roles when she sits in the courtroom and ultimately when she dresses up as Camille in two different ways, like or in two different like moments when she dresses up as Camille. I think she understands that when she sits in that courtroom, people are perceiving her as a Clementine, as an acolyte, as somebody who's like perhaps like sexually and morally perverted because they are attracted to Chevalier or attracted to what Chevalier has done or not done, depending on like what you think about, you know, what they think about Chevalier. But people are assuming she sits in that courtroom day after day. They're going to make an assumption that she is like the lover acolyte. And then when she dresses up as Camille, you know, she then is sort of like playing the role of the virginal victim. And also like a sexualized victim because of course she is a victim of sexual abuse, but also like the schoolgirl outfit, you know, I think is both like she's wearing the braces and she's, you know, so young and yet also like has been you know, perverted by the male gaze, but like and then so I think she's using those images and weaponizing them or using them as a way to distract from what she's really up to.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
You know, like I think she understands like people think I'm a Clementine when they shove the microphone in my face. They think that I'm going to be like, they think I'm going to spout off like Clementine about how Chevalier is. And that's like a good cover because I got some other things going on.
I think there's something inherent to this movie about, I mean, what I'm about to say feels very obvious, but like, I think there's a deeper layer to this movie is about the way that the internet sexualizes young people, especially young women whom it places a sexual gaze upon, but also sexualizes young men in like strange ways. So like right before I watched this, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security posted a video that was like, here's what the world's going to look like when we've finished with deportations. Is a horrifying piece of political propaganda agitprop that people were like, fortunately for us, as with so many things this administration does, it was very like talking to the people who are already inside the tent. Like it has no appeal to just random people who might be convinced. But within it's mostly footage of things from the 80s. It's just like we're going to get back to the 80s basically. But within it,
no, thank you.
There's a like 1 second shot of an Italian girl whose name is Gio Scotti. This is going to get really fucked up, everybody. So go ahead and skip 30 seconds to a minute if you don't want to hear this. But basically, she's an Italian girl who's 17 or 18, but like became a model young. And the online right became obsessed with her because they thought she looked like a prepubescent boy, basically. And they were like, this is like if you were living in ancient Greece, like you would be in a space where you could like take advantage of this sort of thing. And it's deeply horrifying. And when I talk about it this way, it sounds like I'm making it up, but it's not. And it's in a video from the Department of Homeland Security. And there's like 6 layers of fucked up here, just starting with this is a random girl who, yeah, is a model, but like is not like asking to be talked about in this fashion and should not be talked about in this fashion. But also this layer of like, oh yeah, of course the ancient Greeks were having sex with children and wasn't that wonderful? And like this endless like funneling down of a poor understanding of history that's all, and also like a poor understanding of other human beings and a poor understanding of psychology and religion and all of these topics that have gotten filtered into my brain is broken in the exact same way everybody else's is, and we're all going to talk about it now. And then it ends up getting like flagged in these official government propaganda videos. And it just is like, it is a kind of broken that just signifies an unhealthy relationship to not just sexuality, broadly speaking, but like just human interaction in general. And it feels to me like this movie like takes place in a world that understands that level of sexual perversity and darkness and horror is happening. And especially if you're someone like Kellyanne, from the second you get online is happening to you constantly. And like, this is in some small way, her kind of like striking back on that. But yes, that's an extremely long-winded explanation of a bad right-wing meme that's horrifying the more you learn about it. And I didn't even go as deep as I could, but I think this movie's engaged with like how the internet sexualizes people without their consent, and how it's only getting worse.
That's I think the key. Yeah, that's I think the key is like it's like it'll take an image that you've put online in the case of this model, and it's just going to be like, but you didn't intend for anything to happen, it to be interpreted in any way or to be sexualized or whatever, and it will get, put through the meat grinder lens of the internet and turned into some sexualized
or whatever. Yeah.
Some sexualized thing, or it'll be memeified or whatever. Like it'll turn into something that's embarrassing for you or whatever. And it's like, it's out of your control at that point. And I think like, Kellyanne seems like she's aware of this and she has the power to push back because she's so tech savvy, because she's able to work the dark web and she's able to hack and so on. Like she's working, pushing against these forces.
Feels like as it goes on, she's less and less confident that she can control it. Like she's like, I'm going to do everything I can for this video and for Camille. But like she, her job as model, she probably feels like there's a confidence to owning her sexuality, her beauty, and her like physical form, and like, and that being her means of making a living, that and the poker. But she deletes all of her images. Now, she can't delete them off the internet. She knows that.
Yep.
But there's like, and she puts Guinevere through the blender. Like she starts to feel like, maybe I thought I had as much control as humanly possible over every aspect of my sort of domain. And like, maybe I actually can't even, maybe I don't.
Well,
like,
I think it's interesting that
really
she is constant, she's being misinterpreted by everyone around her, you know, and to the point, and then she sort of leans into that in some respect. But like, I think she sort of, it's like it's part of the sacrifice that she has to make in a way to do this is that she has to live in a world where she will be fundamentally misinterpreted, misunderstood. Like the family will never think of her as the person who helped them. They'll just always think of her as that crazy groupie of Ludovic Chevalier.
And also like if we take the person who sells the tape, we know nothing about them except for their screen name, and it is like a Chinese pirate.
Yeah.
Like this is a person who in theory like could do the right thing. They're in possession of this. In theory, they could turn it over to authorities, someone, but they want to make that bag, you know? So like in a weird way, Kellyanne becomes this movie's moral center.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's really hard to see when you're watching it the first time because she does such fucked up things. But like also the way she relates to Clementine, I think that's why Clementine's so important is like, she's not doing a great job of like relating to this person, but she's like fundamentally like doing the right thing in most cases or encouraging Clementine to like turn off the TV. This is a total sidebar, but like every shot in this movie is bonkers great. Like
Yes.
it is the shot. I always think of the shot of Clementine, just her tiny head in the foreground, silhouetted against this enormous TV screen where she's talking to the person on the screen because she's called into this talk show. And like, it is just in an utterly new way to shoot a 2-shot, and like is just a really beautiful composition, and everything in this movie, including like the tiny like 10 seconds we get of the snuff films, because all we get is we hear the horrors and then we see him like cleaning up after the fact. All of it's beautifully composed and beautifully shot and beautifully lit without like really calling attention to itself. It is not a movie that is going out of its way to make you say, oh my God, what a perfect shot. But every shot in it is perfect all the same.
It's very well composed. So I love that scene where Clementine watches the Red Room's video. So she's escorted out of the courtroom when they're going to view the films, and she's like, no, I wanted to see, if we ever hear his voice, because she's still obsessed with him. And Kellyanne sort of lets it slip that, no, we don't hear his voice. And then Clementine realizes, wait, you've seen these videos? And then she's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch it. But then she relents and shows Clementine the video. And in that sequence where it's just their two faces illuminated by the red, unbelievably scary, just horrible and creepy. And then you just hear, saws buzzing and women screaming. It's
interesting you brought up Charlie Kirk, because I was at work when that happened. So I was not like looking online because I was focused on teenage cannibals. But it was a really but the second I got back online, everyone was like, do not watch this footage. Whatever you do, don't check this footage out. So I still haven't seen it, but there's someone I follow who's like a early 20s trans girl. She's really cool. She's like really funny. I wish we could be friends, but I'm also so much older than her, so it's not going to happen. But she was like, yeah, I watched it. I didn't think it was any big deal. Like, I just have been raised on that. From the moment I was on the internet, that stuff has just been like pouring into my brain, and maybe that's fucked up. Oh, well. And like, that is, again, I think this like, Kellyanne has just like inured herself to all of this. She has just thrust her face right in the middle of it. And like, increasingly she can't get any sensation from it, so she has to like insert herself into it. But once she does, she makes the correct moral choice. So she's like a fascinating character because she's like the first like original take on the anti-hero I've seen in a long time, because she ultimately is doing the right thing, but all of the methods that she's using to get there are just deeply disturbed.
So,
and you're like,
totally.
I don't know if I want to hang out with this lady. I do.
Yes,
I want to be her best friend.
yes,
You're on the
yeah.
record.
You could, what is it like? I could fix her, right? That's Emily's. I could
fix her. Yeah.
Well, what I love about Clementine, the actress who plays Clementine is named Francine. No, sorry, what does Clementine say? Laurie Boban. So what I love about that performance in that moment is you see on her face the levels of realization and the horror of like what she has been doing, like hitting one by one. So the first thing is, I think you see and her realize, okay, that is clearly Chevalier. Like she's like, you see his eyes right here, and then okay, yeah. So and then the second is she's obviously clearly for the first time appreciating the sheer magnitude of the depravity of these what's actually happened. So she hadn't really like grokked the horribleness of this. But then the next realization is like, oh shit, I've been defending this evil person. And then the last thing is, and then, she's like at this point crying, but then the last thing, and I love that this occupies sort of the next 10 minutes of the movie, is who is this person sitting next to me who I thought was someone like me who was defending Chevalier and like a groupie and all that, but who has seen these videos, so totally knows Chevalier did it. Like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this person? And she even she basically just like goes pale, and then she's quiet. And then the very last thing is like her exchange with Kellyanne is like, why are you doing this? And it's like, yeah, that's what I want to know too, as a viewer of the film, when I'm watching it for the first time. It's like, why are you doing this? She's like, I cannot even come to understand what this person, like who you are as a human being. Because I've just realized now I've seen everything you've seen, and I'm gonna go home and cry.
Clementine, Babin, like this was nominated for a number of film awards at some Canadian film awards, not the Junos, Geminis, whatever their version of the Oscars. It's not that. It's some other one. I think it might be for the French Canadian industry. It was nominated for a bunch of awards. It's the one major award it won was she won supporting actress, and like it is every time I watch this, I'm astonished at how delicate that performance is, because she is in the more conventional version of this movie. She is in the version of this movie where she like has a character, like she's probably the protagonist of that movie. She has a character arc. She meets this like vengeful figure, and they like ultimately work together to bring Chevalier down. And like without her leaving the reality of the other movie, she's somehow in this movie, and it makes this movie better because she's like there, tugging just enough of the energy toward that more conventional version that like you can watch it and feel like she's enough of a release valve that you don't get sucked down too far in. And like there's the moment in this movie that should not work at all is at the end when we see the journalist interviewing her, and she's like, I now am just focused on the victims. I realized I was sucked in by a madman, blah, blah, blah. And it feels like the movie putting too fine a point on everything it's saying. But the reason it works is because it's wrapping up that other movie that you didn't realize you were kind of counting on. And then it doesn't wrap up Kellyanne at all. We don't really see what happens to her or anything. The like city just distorts and becomes basically a distorted like 240p YouTube video.
Yes.
I think she just disappears in a wisp of smoke.
Well, that's the thing is if she is dead, and this is like, if you're supposed to think of her metaphorically as dead, I mean, her character is fully defined by Chevalier. What I think is interesting is Clementine is not. She seems to be fully defined by Chevalier and her relationship to him, but that final sequence where she's being interviewed sort of shows that she's a human being beyond that, and she's come to realize like the errors of her ways. She's grown and changed and moved on. Kellyanne has not. Kellyanne is fully defined. Like she has no, as far as I can tell, she has no existence prior to this, to Chevalier, and no existence after. She just exists entirely in the space of the Chevalier trial. And I think that's so interesting. I mean, again, because we have no backstory for her. We have no sense of her as a, what she actually is interested in. Again, maybe you think like, oh, maybe she's interested in modeling or squash, but like those
Chloe
are all
Ting
instrumental. But those are all instrumental things she does. Like squash is just to like blow off some steam. Modeling is a way to make money. Like poker is a way to make money. I guess she does enjoy extorting people or whatever. But like still, she seems to be defined. Everything about her is defined in relation to procuring this video and whatever it is.
She likes the music of Rina Sawayama. That's an artist she listens to. I think a couple of times, at least once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she's got a couple of interests. I mean, she definitely likes green smoothies too, and champagne.
And she does not like avocados.
Yes.
It is like, the only evidence we have that she existed before this movie is her modeling portfolio is large.
Right.
Like presumably many of those photos were taken before this movie.
Yeah.
And like the skills that she has are ones she probably had to build up over time.
Yeah.
She probably did not become a great hacker overnight.
Yeah.
But also all of the things she does in this movie are not particularly highly developed hacking. They're just like, if you have enough money and enough time, like you can buy most people's passwords if you really want to.
Yeah.
It's especially people who are not particularly locked down, because why would you be when you don't necessarily expect a random model squash player to try and break
to be in your work email. Yeah.
I love, by the way, I love the ending of the film. You mentioned already the sort of glitchy compression glitch thing. Partly because I think it signals a kind of collapse between the two screens. So the screen that is of Kellyanne's monitor and the screen through which we're watching the film. The reason for this is the final bit. We get this shot of her. She's deleting the videos off her computer or whatever. And then we get this shot of her desktop and we get the glitch on the desktop. And then it goes black. And then we get the footage of everything that's transpiring afterwards. Like Chevalier was caught and now Clementine is like has seen the errors of her ways and so on. And the camera slowly pans right and looks out the window. And as it does, the screen, the camera itself or whatever begins to glitch in exactly the same way that the desktop screen was glitching. And again, I think it is this like, I don't quite know exactly how to read it, but it's very purposeful. It's very like that the relation between these two things is sort of collapsing before our eyes. And I'm just, it's a real flourish to end the film in that way. To end again, and Kellyanne is absent in all of this, and I love that. Like she's just gone. She's disappeared into the ether of Montreal or whatever.
I think she's gone to whatever town it is Clementine's from, and it's just going to show up at her house and be like, "Let's be friends." And then Clementine's going to be like, "No,"
dressed as Camille.
Oh, no.
She's like got her braces on and the contact lenses. It's so interesting to me how isolated she is throughout this entire movie by design. I mean, she's you called her neurospicy, so I think that's true. She's probably like slightly neurodivergent in various ways. But she's probably trouble relating to people, maybe due to potentially her trauma she faced as a younger person. But she also she's clearly extremely competent in a lot of ways. Like she can handle herself and so on. And so, one does hope for the best with Kellyanne, but my sense is like she's just like it's like Neo. She's returned to the source code of the Tor browser.
I never want to see a sequel to this movie. And yet also there is a thing that would be sort of compelling about like the way that like Poirot or Sherlock Holmes or whatever, you slowly became aware of who they were as a person across many, 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 many years of stories. And if like in 10 years, Plant and the actress are like, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, are like, let's do another Kellyanne adventure. And she just like suddenly comes into being again to solve some other internet wrong. Like, it's not like we're not, we talked a lot about, I talked a lot about how the internet sexualizes people, and now AI, these are literally like, to bring it all back home, Taylor Swift has spent so long protecting her image to the degree that she would not show her belly button for a long time. And now there are machines that will just be like, I want to see Taylor Swift naked, and they will show you her naked. And it like, obviously they're probably going to get sued into some state of like, maybe don't do that. But like, we don't all have access to the resources Taylor Swift has. So like, this is a rich world in which to tell stories. And it feels to me like this is a rich character to explore those stories through. So I hope that like we don't get a sequel to this movie, because I think that would be cheap. But I kind of hope this filmmaker and this actress keep exploring that together, however they feel like doing it.
Donc, dans les prochaines semaines, on va vous démontrer que Ludovic Chevalier est l'auteur de ces meurtres, de ces enlèvements, de ces séquestrations, de ces mutilations, de ces agressions sexuelles ayant causé des lésions sur les 3 jeunes filles, Kim, Justine et Camille.
I watched this movie with my wife for the first time. She'd never seen it before. And so we watched it for the first time last night. And like there was that awkward thing. The first kind of 15 minutes of this movie is just like an unbroken wonder of a courtroom.
Yeah.
It just keeps like moving and establishing the facts of the case, and does make you think you're kind of makes you think you're watching a different movie than the one you're watching.
Yeah.
Because it sets up an expectation of this being like more of a legal thriller than a character study. But like it's doing all the exposition. Literally all the exposition the movie needs to work. It's the weakest part of the film, but not in a way where I think it's bad, just in a way where it's like, yeah, we know we need to do this, so let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And she was like talking about Kellyanne Conway. She was like, it was that thing of like, you start watching this and it makes you uncomfortable because you don't know what you're watching. You think you're watching one thing, but the way it's filmed is so unusual that you're like aware it's gotta be something else. But it is steadily like taking you by the hand and leading you deeper into the depths of something. This movie, as much as I say it's a comfort watch, like really gets under my skin and like scares me, like not a lot of modern horror can. It's because I think it's showing me a mirror of like a version of myself that like I kind of find a little hard to bear. The first time I was on this program, I talked about the film Midsommar, and it's a very similar vibe there, where like I watched that movie and I'm like, yeah, I could be her. I could fall into a white supremacist folk cult. Like, and that's, that there's a seductiveness to the idea of being Kellyanne on top of everything else that I think is very powerful and makes this movie work. She's not just a cipher, and she's not just like a borderline psychopath. She is someone that like when you read about like a terrible injustice, you kind of wish you could become. So it's
I know.
Yeah.
She
also like looking like her would be cool. She just seems like she's got it all figured out.
I mean, she's sort of got it all figured out, but she can't. She's just a little concerned about her calories, and like that seems hard. But like,
she's a model. That's just instrumental.
That's just instrumental.
She's just got to do this for the job to make money, so that she can gamble it and make enough Bitcoin to buy the video. That's the way I see it. She just does all this just to make money for that.
Yeah, no, it's literally like there's the point where she says, well, money's just numbers in a computer and I'm good with numbers. Yeah. And you're like, that is technically true, but
like,
Yeah.
That's not how Clementine feels when she like needs to pay for a coffee. Yeah.
But like the way that those walls break down, and like she stops being unemotional when she's playing poker, and like is like, I'm just gonna go all in, and scares everybody off the bets that she wins again $2.5 million, and like then spends it all on this video. Like it's clear there's some deep emotional thing going on inside of her. Anyway, my pitch for a sequel is that we pick up 10 years later and she's just married and has like a kid and is just like living a normal suburban life, and then she like brings down let's say Larry Ellison, because Elon Musk is just getting too much attention right now.
Elon would be too obvious, right? Yeah, it has to be some other tech
I feel like Kellyanne versus Elon is not a fair fight at all. He would just not at all be able to stand up to her in any way. So
no.
I do. Yeah, I'm excited to. Have you seen any of Pascal Plante's other films?
No, I really should check them out. I'm excited to see what he does next, because it does feel to me like from the reviews of his earlier films, people are like, this is interesting, and that this was a movie that like really was a leap up for people. Though there is one in particular I feel like people really loved. I'm going to look it up because that's what we do on the computer.
We have not seen.
It literally was just Red Rooms. Really felt like it took a big leap up for folks. So yeah, but yeah, I'm interested to see the others. He was born in 1988, which feels like exactly the right age to make this movie.
Yeah, I was born in 87.
Yeah, there you
go. Why didn't you make this movie, Laura?
Yeah, come on.
I have no excuse. Are we feeling like Kellyanne's a little younger? She's young. She's not born in 87. She was born in like 2000.
I think but she's I think I like Emily's read that she's maybe a young millennial.
Young millennial.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be like 90s kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the actress was born in 93, and that like feels right to me.
Yeah. Okay.
But
the age of our younger siblings. You and me, Justin.
No, I think young millennial is right to me, and Clementine's a little younger.
Yes.
That's how I feel. And,
yeah.
But because it's important that she has a past, we don't know what it is, and some shit has happened. She has to be older than the women she's defending, right? The women who were murdered, right? The young girls that were murdered. And I think, that, and she has a maturity and a kind of like worldliness that Clementine lacks. So I definitely read her as older, even though of course she's younger than us, but but so are many people, because we are all old as dirt.
Yeah, so old. She's been, there's no official age for her, but she's been working since 2016, which suggests, she's probably a 90s child of some sort. So, Good for her.
Good for her.
She did it.
Emily, so as we wrap this up, this is part of our spooky season experience. Do you have another spooky movie that you would recommend to go along with the Red Rooms, like as a double feature? Maybe it's just Zodiac.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Zodiac's a great call, but it's so clear that Plant is like a Fincher devotee.
Yes.
Like if I'm like gonna knock him for anything, it is that he is just trying to make the movie that he thinks David Fincher would make. And I'd love to see like a little bit more of his voice peek through, but that's such a lame complaint, just like when everyone was like, with The Brutalist, why can't, what's his face, he's so clearly trying to be Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm like, yeah, but what a great person to try to be,
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
Brady
for it,
Corbet.
bud.
There we go.
Yes, Corbett.
I am going to recommend that people who watch Red Rooms pair it with Unfriended.
Yes!
Found footage.
Hell yeah.
Found footage, heavy air quotes around that. The movie that takes place all on a computer screen during some sort of Skype call that gets like invaded by a ghost. Unfriended 2, Dark Web, also fun.
Ooh.
So like if you want
we
to make a
haven't seen
night of
that
it, watch all
one.
3. But yeah, I think my friend David Sims, co-host of Blank Check, film critic at The Atlantic, one of the best people to talk about movies with, called this movie part of the incipient genre What If Too Much Computer, and Unfriended is also What If Too Much Computer.
Yes.
And is a different kind of scary. It's not going to get under your skin. It's much more jump scare central, but like it's a very fun movie.
I love Unfriended. Great recommendation. Actually, and that sets us up because our next film we're going to do is Wreck. That's just a preview for the audience. But Emily, tell us a bit about your show. So you have, I should have mentioned it at the top, you're co-host of podcasts like It's, and also your new book, Woodworking.
We're podcasts like It's the 2000s now. We talk about films of the 2000s, and this episode is coming out when?
In 1 week.
Okay, great. We have moved on. We're now doing the films of Mike Nichols from the 2000s.
Oh, fun.
The films on television of Mike Nichols. We also are imminently going to do a very short Halloween series of our own called Somebody Scare Phil for my co-host Phil Iskov. And this year we're doing Saw and Paranormal Activity for that.
Okay.
Great episodes both. And then we're doing, Mike Nichols, and then we have a holiday miniseries. And then in the new year, Phil was supposed to email you about being on the thing we're doing in the new year. But
okay. Well, we'll get
I don't think he has. So
I have not heard, yes.
The new year, that's
Wow.
so many months away for us cows who we're going to
Exactly.
We're literally recording a week before.
You're like, when did this come out? We're like, it comes out tomorrow.
We are doing a thing where it is imperative that we have at least a few parents on.
Very
Okay.
good. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I talk about.
But then tell us also
being
about
a parent.
Yeah,
so
that's
that'll work
right.
out
Laura's
well.
got expertise in that dimension. But tell us about Woodworking. So the new novel Woodworking, which came out in the spring.
In March
Yes.
4th. It's right here.
There it is.
I don't know why. This is an audio medium. Nobody can see that I'm
That's
holding
true.
up.
It
the book.
looks
I'm gonna
beautiful.
It looks
It's a
good.
little
Emily is
ASMR
holding up like a big a log, like a big piece of wood right now.
Yeah.
And a chisel. Yeah.
It's a book. It was long listed for some first novel prize.
Oh,
so,
congrats.
Congrats.
To do the thing, people have liked it. It's about a woman in small town South Dakota who comes out as trans at 35 and realizes the only other trans person she knows is one of her high school students, and kind of the unlikely friendship that develops between them. It's set in the build up to the 2016 election. Every time I talk about it, people are like, that sounds really intense and depressing. And it's like, it's very funny. I wanted it to be more of a comedy than anything else. But I think it is a comedy in the James L. Brooks sense, where it is also has some sort of darker elements in it, but like not, Kellyanne is not a character in it, though she should be. She'll be in the sequel.
She'll be in the sequel.
She'll
Yeah.
do some sleuthing.
Laura,
I mean,
Laura can give a review here.
Squeals out loud
Yeah.
of laughter
Yeah.
while reading that, but it's definitely funny. You're Woodworking. I mean, Emily, you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy it now wherever
now.
you find books.
Thank you. Sorry, I am fading.
Laura is about to pass out, but
it makes a great gift.
it would
for
be
the
a
holiday
great
season. So-
Halloween gift. Put it
Yeah.
in your
Great
house.
Halloween gift.
I've been,
Great-
yeah.
yeah.
Emily, I just like, I got it. You told me to pre-order it on Amazon, which of course I did in March. And then I like went to my local bookstore and then I had multiple copies and then I was just giving it to people. And I was like, you should read this.
All right. Thank you so much.
We're giving it out.
The paperback, I don't know if I'm supposed to reveal this, but I doubt my publisher listens to Cows in the Field religiously. The paperback is out May 26th.
All right.
So you can't pre-order that yet. My new book, Beth March Returns from the Dead, is out fall 2026, as is a book I'm writing about, It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow.
I'm losing my mind a little bit
Oh my
because I'm
gosh.
also working on a TV show at the moment.
So and where can people watch your TV show, Yellow Jackets?
People should watch Yellow Jackets. Season 3, which I worked on, is all out there now. You can watch all of it. I think as a person who was a fan of the show, like a critical voice supporting the show back in the first season. Obviously I'm not an unbiased source because I work on it, but I think season 3 is our strongest season.
Nice.
And I hope that people will watch it and enjoy it. And Libby and I wrote episode 6, which ends with like, I think a pretty great cliffhanger.
There you go. Okay. Check out Yellow Jackets. It's on Showtime. Check out Woodworking. We can book up at your local bookstore. And then also check out podcasts like it's where you can get at any podcatcher, whatever thing you listen to as
my newsletter is episodes.ghost.io, where I write, I and my managing editor, Lily Osler, writes things every week for people who give us money.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, but you
That sounded so avaricious.
You have like a free one and a subscription?
There is a free one that comes out
Yeah.
bi-weekly on Wednesdays, and there's a subscribers only that comes out every week, Mondays and Fridays.
Got it.
So,
yeah. Wow. Every week, Monday and Friday. So you're
It's a
writing
lot.
twice a week. Wow.
Yeah, it's Lily does some of them as well, and also the Monday one is me just like writing about whatever it is I'm watching, so it's kind of like just like a letterbox log, so it's not as heavy of a lift, but yeah, every week.
Wow.
Every week there's a newsletter, and often like I wrote about One Battle After Another, and
Just
sort
saw
of its
that in my
relationship
inbox
to
today.
history. I recently wrote a thing about weapons that I think people who enjoyed this podcast episode might really enjoy that
Ooh.
newsletter. So yeah, if you're at all curious, and this is the way I trick people into giving me money. I only write about stuff that's new and in theaters or on your TV screen.
There you go.
Behind that paywall. The free edition is often just me being like having random thoughts about like the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Well, so check out episodes.ghost.io.
Episodes.ghost.io.
Yes. And so, you get a feel for it with the free, and then you're thinking,
You get a lot of content.
I'm kind of enjoying being in Emily's headspace here. I want to
Yes.
know what Emily's be thinking about One Battle After Another, which I want to know what you'd be thinking about because I had a great time in One Battle After Another,
movie.
and I
Yeah.
cannot stop thinking about it, and I can't talk to Laura about it because I saw it without her. So I'm like sitting here just like
I know, you're
pent
bursting.
up. I know. I cannot wait for
You're
you to see it, Laura.
freaking out. Yeah.
Anyway, Emily, thank you so
Yes.
much for being here. And we are at Cowspod on Twitter and Blue Sky, and you can follow us on the web at cowspod.com. Please rate and review and subscribe, all that stuff. And also, you could buy a cow shirt at shop.cowspod.com. Last thing is, as I mentioned before, we're doing Rec with Pete Turner. Pete is a film scholar at Oxford Brookes University, and he wrote a book on found footage horror that's really fun and cool. So tune in 2 weeks for Rec.